Hey everybody, welcome to So Many Sequels, your book club for movies. I'm Josh.
I'm Garrett.
And I'm David.
Welcome back to Mayhem, our Disaster Month series here on the show. We've been talking about movies that have led to the end of the world, or near misses, rather, in most of them.
Yes.
No?
Usually the
No.
clock stops at 1 second.
Yeah. Not in The Day After Tomorrow, though. The world ended.
They got pretty effed up. And Dante's Peak, they got pretty messed up in that too.
That's true. But those are the two movies we've covered so far. I guess
maybe they didn't save the world.
I don't think they saved the world at all in those two.
No.
But go check those out. You can watch the videos on our YouTube channel. You can also watch them on Spotify. You can listen anywhere you get podcasts. Go do that. And subscribe on those apps. That helps us out a lot when you hit the subscribe button, leave comments, share, ratings. All that stuff helps us in the end. So if
The whole idea is this is a book club. So jump in. If you think we're stupid, tell us. If you think we're right, tell us, and we'll respond.
And what do you think?
I know Spotify specifically has comments. You can comment on the episodes, so go do
That's
that
true.
there. I don't know how that works, but
We will respond.
Yep,
You think
for
we
sure.
got anything else to do?
No, not most of the time. We don't.
No, just watching movies.
Just watching movies in our little TV screens here, our square screens. But we are talking about disaster movies. We're talking about a big one this week, Armageddon, the Michael Bay film starring a who's who of honestly just like 90s big actors. You got Bruce Willis leading the show here. You got a young Ben Affleck. You got Liv Tyler. You got Steve Buscemi, always a delight. Although maybe not a delight. No, sometimes he's actually a delight in this. Owen Wilson, who is in this movie.
I know.
Ton of people.
Michael Clark Duncan.
Michael Clark Duncan. Yes, a great role for him, actually.
Can't be forgotten.
Yeah.
Coach Yost.
Huh?
Coach Yost from Remember the Titans was in this.
Oh yes.
Remember the
Okay.
actor's name.
Okay, yeah.
Can't remember the actor's name. But yeah.
Billy Bob. Love him.
Yeah.
Billy Bob Thornton, of
Love
course.
Billy Bob.
Keith David.
Did you say Liv Tyler already?
You said Liv Tyler, yeah.
Can't forget that woman.
No, there were a couple other women. There was a woman crew member.
There were the strippers,
There
yeah.
was a woman crew.
It is a Michael Bay movie. You're right. There were plenty of strippers. Let's read the description and we'll get into the box office and all that. Today we're talking about Armageddon. When an asteroid threatens to collide with Earth, NASA honcho, I don't know, that's a weird way to say that, Dan Truman, played by Billy Bob Thornton, determines the only way to stop it is to drill into its surface and detonate a nuclear bomb. This leads him to renowned driller Harry Stamper, who agrees to helm the dangerous space mission provided he can bring his own hotshot crew. Among them is the cocksure AJ, who Harry thinks... I didn't read this before. I didn't know there were so many colorful words in here. AJ, who Harry thinks isn't good enough for his daughter until the mission proves otherwise. There's a lot to unpack there, but first, let's unpack the numbers.
Armageddon was one of the biggest openings of 1998. It opened the weekend, July 4th weekend, Independence Day weekend, 1998, to $36 million. That's the fourth highest open of the year. It opened to number one over Dr. Dolittle in its second weekend, starring Eddie Murphy, brought in 19.6. Disney's Mulan was at number 3 with 11 million in its third week. Oh, fantastic movie, Out of Sight was it number 4 with 6.5. That's a cool guy doing cool crimes.
That's a good one right there.
Number 2, that was George Clooney, Jennifer Lopez, and maybe her best role ever. I don't know. I'll go on that limb. And then the X-Files.
I'm thinking of a different movie.
The X-Files brought in 6.2 million in its third weekend at the number 5 spot. Armageddon would go on to make $201 million in the United States, 352 overseas, for a worldwide total of $553.7 million. All of that against a budget of about 140 million. It was the number 2 movie of the year in 1998, just behind Saving Private Ryan here in the U.S. The number 1 movie, though, worldwide, with that staggering number. Top movies of 1998 include Saving Private Ryan, Armageddon at number 2. There's Something About Mary was the number 3 movie that year. A Bug's Life was at number 4. And at number 5, The Waterboy.
I dream of the days when a comedy would be in the top 5 these days.
An original, no doubt.
Yeah, two
original
comedies.
comedies.
Two
And one of
original
them, yes,
comedies.
an Adam Sandler joint.
Yes, yes. Honestly, I'll give you the rest of the top 10 here just for the heck of it. Dr. Dolittle, as previously mentioned, was number 6. Rush Hour was number 7.
Wow.
Deep Impact, the other asteroid movie from 1998, was number 8. And Godzilla was number 9. And Patch Adams was number 10.
It's a good top 10.
What a crazy
It is
top
a
10,
good
right?
top 10.
I do want to
Look
talk
at that
about
variety. Look at so
Exactly.
many different things that people used to go see.
We did a Robin Williams movie. You got Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan.
Dramatic.
I want to talk a little bit about Deep Impact just briefly. So Deep Impact opened 8 weeks prior to Armageddon. It was also a movie about a large 7-mile wide asteroid heading towards Earth. Much more of a dramatic turn. If you've watched the trailers for Deep Impact, it's very serious. Morgan Freeman's the president. They talk about like, hey, we're only gonna be able to save like 1 million people, or roughly. So we've been digging these tunnels. It's very, people over 50 can't get in. There's gonna be a lottery. It's very dramatic. Anyway, that movie was actually still in theaters when Armageddon debuted. It was in the number 20 spot, I believe, that weekend. So yeah, just kind of funny. This is another one of those classic twin movie situations, and it's funny because it happened twice with our films so far. Because we had Dante's Peak and Tommy Lee Jones's Volcano came out the same year. The other week when we were talking about that. Anyway, I'll dry it up there. This is our 5th movie from 1998 that we reviewed. Previously, we did talk about the X-Files. We talked about H2O, Halloween, H2O. We talked about Star Trek Insurrection, and You've Got Mail. So those are our 1998 ventures previously.
I'm now thinking that 1998 is where my fear of an Earth-killing asteroid came from.
That and the dinosaurs.
Right? That's a lot of... Well, and you said Godzilla in that year, too. It's basically the same thing. So,
Yeah, and what's interesting, Deep Impact opened larger than Armageddon, but Armageddon ended up having better legs, I think, and Godzilla opened about 2 weeks after Deep Impact, so I think it might have cut into Deep Impact's run a little bit with more disaster-y stuff.
So I chose Armageddon. This was my pick for the week or the month. And I chose it because I loved this movie as a child and watched it a lot because I loved space and space shuttles and all that stuff. Like at the end, when that montage is going and those kids are like, with the space shuttle running through the street, literally me with a toy space shuttle running through the house, flying a space shuttle around. I loved it. So that's why I picked it. It's an all-timer in terms of disaster movies. Like it, love it, or hate it. Like you just said, made hell of money. So my expectations were, Michael Bay. I expected, honestly, peak Michael Bay with this movie. Going back to it, it's been a while since I watched it, and I think in some ways I got peak Michael Bay, for better and for worse. So that's where we'll open it. That was my expectations. Garrett, what were yours?
I would say mine were pretty low. I had never seen this before. Purposely avoided it as a kid in '98. Probably because for some reason I heard more about the romance than I did the action, and 8-year-old Garrett wasn't about that, so didn't want to see it. But yeah, it doesn't tick a lot of my boxes based on the cast, like the build cast and the director, and so those are some difficult things to overcome. So I was like, oh man, I know that it's like Super King disaster movie, but I really expected it to be a Day After Tomorrow situation where I was like, yeah, it was good for '98 and it's not good now when I see it for the first time in 2025. So it had a lot to overcome.
And David, your expectations?
My expectations were also fairly low. I think I had seen a lot of bits and pieces of this over time because it was on TV and stuff when we were younger, but I never like caught it from beginning to end, so I never really had a full grasp of the whole thing. And so this was kind of a first time like clear all the way through watch for me. Like you said, the Michael Bay of it. I have long understood this movie to be, heard this movie be kind of dumb in its depiction of science in some ways. So I was kind of anticipating a potentially low IQ film. So anyway, that was kind of where I was going in, and I was like, okay, let's see if it can entertain me along the way.
I think that saying that its approach to science is dumb is maybe an insult to dumb movies. It is worse than that. Its approach to science. That is undebatable. This is a movie where zero gravity does not exist. At no point do they experience weightlessness. And there was more to that to come in the movie, but that's where I want to set the ground standard for science, is that the main thing even a child knows about space is that you float.
Exactly.
And they were just like throwing crap around on this asteroid. And anyway, so yeah, science is bad. Science is bad. We got a lot to make fun of there. I'm actually excited about some of it. But let's get into the movie. We find out pretty early on that a Texas-sized asteroid is coming toward Earth, hurtling toward Earth, and they have like less than a month.
18 days.
18 days, a couple more than 2 weeks, which I think for even 1998 standards is ridiculous to think that they wouldn't have caught it way earlier than that.
Yeah.
But again, I digress.
They can only patrol 3% of the sky with the budget they have, and it wasn't in the 3% window that they.
Meanwhile,
they never thought to look straight.
And this is before Doja's cut it up. Remember,
This
is a fully staffed NASA. But before we get to the great plan and what are we going to do about this planet killer that's coming in 18 days, we simultaneously meet Harry Stamper, Bruce Willis, the best deep core driller in the world. With no credentials to show for it, but he is the best.
His reputation precedes him.
You can tell
That's
because
how
he's
you
so
know he's
salt
the
of the
best.
earth, and he's so gritty.
And we meet his rough and tumble crew of blue collar oil rig workers, including Michael Clark Duncan, Steve Buscemi, Owen Wilson. Who else? The guy who looks like Steve Guttenberg, but it's not. Will Patton, that's his name.
Yeah, Will Patton. He plays Coach Yost.
Yes.
Who's the other one? Max. There's the big guy. Ken Campbell, excuse me.
And Harry's daughter, Liv Tyler, who also works for him on the rig, but as a, I guess your corporate liaison, so to speak. She deals with the businessmen and people coming to the rigs. So we set the stage there. She's hooking up with Ben Affleck, who Harry hates, can't stand that this is happening. What are we feeling? Do you hate them all yet? Do you already hate everyone?
Yeah.
Dang.
Oh, David does. Okay, go for it, David. Why?
Who?
Yeah.
The thing is, they are all so unlikable, and I'm getting in. I'm not going to be able to not like talk about sort of like the arc of the film with these characters, because the big point of like most of this movie is like all these idiotic future cabinet members are talking about like, oh hey, listen here, college boy, that ain't how it works, or something like that, and it's just they're just so stupid. And like even the one who's not stupid is Steve Buscemi, who's like, yeah, I graduated from MIT, and I was 22, and so okay, he's really smart. He's just a scumbag. Like that's the best case we got going on here. So I
believe he's just described as horny.
Yeah, he's just a total, know.
Accurate
and so
description.
I don't know. They're all just like the dumbest, loudest people you could expect, and even the ones that are like closer to like somewhat respectable, like Will Patton's character, who's like kind of sometimes Bruce Willis's like voice of reason, who tries to talk to him. He's just like nope. I don't know. There's just not much dimension to these guys.
Here's the deal with David, is that he takes every movie way too seriously. And this is a movie that should not be taken seriously in any way, shape, or form. Listen, I got very good advice from Cap going into this right as we were starting, because I went into this just like, I'm gonna hate every minute of this, and it's 2.5 hours long. Like, what? This is gonna be awful. And she goes, listen, you have to approach this like this is the best bad movie you've ever seen. Mm-hmm. And that changed everything. That changed every moment of this, because I no longer had any expectations.
Yes.
I was in this for the ride, because that is sometimes how you experience a movie. Is this supposed to be taken seriously? No. When do you ever take Michael Bay seriously? Never. So this is just absolute explosion stupidness fun. And when I looked at it from that perspective, I was hooked. And then it sucked me in with massive, big explosions, and I was like, okay, this is super crazy disaster movie. We're finally kicking one of these off with explosions and crazy and wild, and how cool is this? And then, you know who showed up? Eddie Griffin. And I was like, what? Eddie Griffin?
Eddie Griffin was there.
And then, you know who also showed up? Mr. Cooper from Hanging with Mr. Cooper, that I used to watch in the Nickelodeon days back in the 90s.
Cameo. Yeah.
And I was so sucked in because I knew that this was going to be dumb and this was going to be fun. And so from there, I was like, let's go.
Wow.
I was stunned.
I can appreciate that sentiment, but it doesn't do it for me.
A simple perspective shift. I love it. Okay, perfect. Well, then let's keep going then, because now we're at the point where we figure out what NASA's great plan is, and it is that we're gonna drill a hole into the asteroid so deep, we're gonna put a nuclear bomb in there so big that it's gonna blow up, split it, and float around the Earth and miss us by this much. And we're not. And who are we gonna get to do this? Not astronauts.
No, that would be stupid.
One astronaut.
You can't possibly.
The best deep core driller in the world.
You can't possibly train astronauts for 8 months and expect them to be able to point a drill downwards at a hole. It's so
no. Instead, you
not like Doug Stamper. They don't do it the same.
What are you gonna do?
Harry Stamper.
From House of Cards.
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do if the transmission goes out? Fix it.
That's perfect. Yeah. So NASA then brings in Harry to go out and recruit his crew because.
Can I say how stupid that is?
You can.
The recruiting.
Yes, because Harry says, "I'm not doing it with your astronaut crew. I'm doing it with my guys," which is another just like holy stupid thing.
Yeah, well, because he acts like 8 months of training for astronauts is too little time. But what I want to talk about is they picked Harry up from his rig, where all of his guys are. And by the statement of this own film, 18 hours later, he shows up in Florida to have this conversation, right? So roughly a day has passed, maybe. Let's say by the end of him saying, nah, man, your astronauts can't cut it. I need the best. Maybe a day has passed. Everybody on his rig has gone home and spread across the United States because they have to send black helicopters at sunset to chase down Owen Wilson and an entire county of cops to catch Michael Clark Duncan. Steve Buscemi's already in some dive bar somewhere picking up underage girls. How did they get so far? Ben Affleck already opened a new business in the amount of time between when they picked up Bruce Willis and when they had to go get Ben Affleck. He opened his own oil drill.
He did not. He just painted a sign and put it on a fence.
It's true. He had like a metal shop.
They have 18 days.
Listen, this is why they're the best deep core drillers in the world.
Yeah. David, if the world is about to end, you spare no expense.
You spare no expense.
You have this Doug Harry Stamper, who is the best deep core driller in the world, ready and willing and able to save the world.
Right.
But they stole, again, NASA stole his design. They didn't do it right. It's clearly not working. So why wouldn't you be like, okay, we have no other choice. It's either go get these guys or we all die. You're not taking that into consideration. David.
No, but
you're just looking at it from your own perspective of selfishness. But you're not worried about all of the 87 billion other people in this world.
The thing is, rule of cool, right? It's way cooler to have a bunch of tough roughnecks, a bunch of future MAGA voters save the day. All right? It's much cooler than a bunch of astro nerds putting together a drill and go. Because if you want that, you can just watch Deep Impact. That's not what we're here for.
Oh my God! Can we also talk about Malfoy's dad showing up and saving the world too? He was there.
Yeah, he was.
He was there.
Him, William Fincher, they were all there.
Yes.
No, Josh, what about you? What do you feel like this middle part? Because I don't disagree with David. The montage, there were way too many montages in this movie.
We've barely gotten out of the first act yet.
They could have easily tightened this stuff up a little bit and didn't need all of that. But
sure.
you know, what do you think?
For sure they could have. I mean, at the point where they decide they're going to do this, you know, a training montage, we probably need that. Maybe other montages we don't need as much. So I definitely get that argument. I'm not gonna defend keeping basically any of this movie in it. I think anything is probably cuttable at some point in time.
At least one Aerosmith song could have been left out.
Yes, but not the Aerosmith song. Probably just the one in the strip club.
Yeah.
But I gotta tell you, as like trashy as they are, that's such a great scene because that also happens in Act 2 when they realize that this is essentially it's very likely a suicide mission for them to do. Steve Buscemi goes out, takes out $100,000 loan. We get this whole scene, which cracked me up because like there's no way I understood any of that as a kid. So I'm seeing this for the first time going, oh, he's like frauding the hell out of this guy in hopes that he'll either die or come back rich enough to pay him back. Yeah. And he's blowing it all with his friends at the strip club.
Yes.
Ridiculous. Peak Michael Bay. Again, in that for better and for worse. It is peak Michael Bay to include a gratuitous strip club scene in there.
I do want to mention one line that really stood out to me. One of the you know aspects of this movie that does tell me that they knew what they were doing was
I only got 5 words for you. Is it that?
It wasn't that. No.
They say that probably 6 times.
That wasn't that, but at every turn, these characters prove that they're not the right people to do this. Like people keep saying, like these are not the right guys to do this, and as an audience perspective, you're supposed to be like, no, man, have some faith, and then they just prove themselves to not be right for it. But there's a part where they do their physicals and stuff, and Billy Bob Thornton says, Can they physically survive the mission? And he goes, I'm surprised they've survived the exams. I was like, yeah, okay.
There's some funny moments in there.
Yeah.
You know, I also want to point out some of the one thing that really stood out to me in this middle part here is you've got some really good actors doing some really funny stuff. You know, they're just leaning into it, they're acting, they're delivering, and then you have Ben Affleck, who's just bad. And like it for me really shined at how bad and dull he is compared to everyone. And it was just his acting too. It was bad.
You know, take this with a grain of salt because it's a Wikipedia detail, but Bradley Cooper auditioned for that part.
Wow.
A young Bradley Cooper.
That would have been interesting.
He's not famous though.
No, Ben fits it for a lot of reasons, but yeah, he is unfortunately really dull in this role in particular. He's just very, even amongst the Roughneck crew, he's truly just the most handsome one. Like he's not even the most nice one. Interesting.
And like hot take here, Liv Tyler's not that great in this either. They are a very boring couple to me.
I don't disagree, but that's not Liv Tyler's fault. That is Michael Bay's fault and the writer's fault because they absolutely whoever was writing those scenes, they do not know how to write for relationships because everything that happened between them was like written by a 12-year-old boy and what he thinks relationships are. And like every line that she delivered was bad because it was written that way. It wasn't her fault. It was just really, really bad.
No, fair enough. It's not the most. It's not necessarily a character written with a ton of depth.
I mean, that whole animal cracker scene is painful.
So cringy.
Painful.
Yes. It was very painful. And that is because
And that's him
Ben's a
being
bad
charming.
actor. Nah, that's because he's a bad actor and has no charm. Yeah.
What do you think? Was Ben Affleck better in this or in Reindeer Games?
Somehow Reindeer Games.
So I'm gonna go with
Somehow.
this. So yeah, we really get thrown into the mission now. Lots of action, space montages. Truly
What the-
nothing super important. Weirdly,
Well, what the hell happened up there when they have to refuel? And
So-
like, I lost interest around this point, so I don't know why everything blew up.
See, listen, you take movies way too seriously. You try to make things make sense. Listen, you just along for the
love
ride
movies.
at this point in time. You should, and there's nothing wrong with just letting one be like, all right, fine, it doesn't make sense. Yes, what
I
are
do
they
that with
doing?
some
I don't
movies.
know. It's not real. They're not taking it seriously.
just asking what happened.
At no point in time did any of these writers go, hey, let's make this scientifically accurate. No, they went, let's make this
Clearly.
entertaining and figure out how to connect the dots in between later. You know
But did
why?
they make it
because that's
entertaining?
not that kind of movie. That's not that kind of movie.
But I question.
Yes, they made it entertaining.
I question the assertion that they made it entertaining because it's I was clamoring
$500
to
million
find interest.
Yeah,
disagree.
I was gonna say you are in the super minority on this
Look,
one, and
I
yeah,
just because I'm smart doesn't mean that I am.
no, it's because
doesn't
you're not
mean that
fun.
I'm out of the loop.
It's
You're
you.
the
You're a
nerd that they
movie.
leave behind at nest.
You're a movie robot in a different way that Andrew Nichols was. Let's edit his last name out. No, he did it before. He did it before.
Well, to answer your question, it was a leaky fuel line it was Space Station Mir.
A leaky fuel
And
line.
that is what
Okay.
caused an explosion when they were refueling. Because yes, they took 2 space shuttles to do this.
'Cause-
freedom and
yes.
independence, of course.
Well,
Sure.
and to be clear,
Spare
this
no
was
expense.
this was nearing the 2-hour mark of the film.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah.
I was struggling to maintain my interest.
Which is fascinating because
yeah.
a lot of people, from what I could tell, critique its aggressive editing pace.
Yeah, I mean, someone on Letterboxd, my wife read me this review. This film is like designed for people with short attention spans, but it's 2.5 hours long, so it's like a real oxymoron kind of movie in that regard.
Perhaps, yeah, maybe so. Which one is it? Independence. Independence is the one that crashes. We're left to believe all died. They did not all die because we can't lose Ben Affleck yet, and the other two. I don't
Owen
remember
Wilson
who was
died.
with him anymore.
Sad.
But we land on the asteroid, which I want to talk about that. Did no one know? Like, I don't know. It's not what I think an asteroid looks like.
It looked like
It looks like hell.
it
But
does.
Like, but like
frozen
in an
hell.
alternate MCU dimension.
Oh yeah, no, it looks like the ice planet that Thor goes to.
Why
In,
does it
in
look
that first
like
Thor movie.
that?
Meteors are cold.
I guess so. But and then
It looks like a Tim Burton's version of Krypton.
Space is super
There's
cold.
wispy space dust everywhere.
Yeah.
and it's just I've never seen asteroid portrayed like that. I feel like.
No.
But we're on this fully hurtling toward Earth, but also has its own sustainable gravitational pull. Important to note.
Yes,
Everything's fine.
it's so big.
Just enough.
Smaller than the moon, which does not support full gravity. But this one does.
Just enough.
Run
Just
that out
enough. Well, and they have these like weird suits that they set up because they have a whole scene where they talk about these suits are like extra heavy or something. I don't know. They have like little thrusters on them or whatever to make
They
you
put those little,
heavier.
those little ankle weights that joggers wear that kind of strap around. They probably put
Yeah.
like 6 or 7 of them around the ankles. Just
Probably. So basically, to jump through a bunch of explosions and mistakes, we get to a point where the president is like, I'm doing it.
They're out of time.
I'm blowing it up. We got to do it. And so they activate this secondary protocol or something they call it that certain people were briefed on, and there were documents placed on the shuttle. with this information freely
Yeah.
available to anyone who wanted to read it, where they were going to make it a suicide mission and blow everyone up with it. Nobody likes that idea, obviously. Harry decides he can do it. He says, you're going to have to shoot me. I don't think guns work in space. Don't quote me on that.
Well, they were inside the ship. So
they at least acknowledge that, because when that character said, "What are you doing with a gun in space?" I went, "Yes. Why would you even think about bringing a gun?"
Yes.
Well, honestly, and you guys just think about the handgun. Let's not forget that there's a Gatling gun on the front of the armadillo that they drive. Ben Affleck blasts his way out of the other ship with and I was like, why is there a freaking Gatling gun on
For some reason,
a superhero movie, yeah.
For some reason, that one made sense. Don't know why.
Because you have to blast through the rock.
It's a drill. They're like, hey, we got to get out of here. We got to be able to cut our way out. Can we use the drill? No.
There might have been aliens.
No,
to fight.
bullets.
There might have been aliens to fight on that asteroid. You do not know what is involved in that.
Yeah.
Spare no expense.
Spare no expense. We got to get to this.
Oh, man.
I don't know. It's not really a twist. I don't think it's a twist, but it's a twist to one character, AJ, who is basically tricked by Harry, thrown back into the space elevator thing. Mm-hmm. You are going behind. I'm going to drill and finish this alone, and I will die and sacrifice myself for the planet. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, I love you, and I've always seen you as my son. Mm-hmm. I literally tried to murder you 2.5 hours ago.
in film time.
But I have always thought of you as my son, and I love you.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Reaction to that hero moment? No, I do want to say, okay, look, before I get your reactions, I feel like this is where I got to insert some defense, at least for David. Again, working with what is given in the script, love everything Bruce Willis is doing. He delivers every one of those bad lines with so much sincerity.
Without question. Mm-hmm. I agree, Josh.
Yeah.
So now,
bring it on, David.
Big hero.
I'll give my props to Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis is always a very endearing person. But like you said, this was one of the aspects of the movie that I'd seen. Like, I knew about this. It's supposed to be a big emotional.
Supposed to be.
Anchor of the film is this moment where Bruce just, tricks him and says, "No, I'm staying behind." And could have been for me, but I since I already knew going in, like there was no surprise. Like if I had been genuinely surprised, then I could probably speak to
because this was a year before Bruce Willis was dead the whole time.
Yes, it's true.
Oh, this makes sense.
Right?
He died here and came back as a therapist, and think about it. Sequel.
Yeah. So, that said, Liv Tyler's very upset, and she's gonna lose her dad, and I was kind of like, "Are you really losing that much? Like he's,
She loved him now.
Kind of sucks."
Again,
he threatened to kill your boyfriend.
This is not Liv Tyler's fault, but go listen to what she said.
Yeah.
Go listen to the words that she said to her dad, who is about to save the world and die. And that is not a thing that any real person would ever say in that situation. In that order. Maybe some of the sentiments there, but those words themselves were bad words.
Yeah. But I think it's a good moment. Like I said, I already knew it happened. So I think I have a hard time now going back and retroactively judging how impactful it would have been had I not known it was about to happen. Well, but
I'll tell you that Bruce Willis did win.
Cool way to go out, though.
Did win Worst Actor at the Golden Raspberry Awards this year for this movie. So
wow, wow.
It was nominated for several
beautiful
Golden Raspberry and Academy Awards. So
they take movies too seriously. The Golden Raspberry.
Love that. Yeah, we got Worst Picture, which it lost. Worst Director, Worst Actor, Worst Supporting Actress, Worst Screenplay, Worst Screen Couple, and Worst Original Song.
What could it have lost to? Did it lose to Dr. Dolittle?
Oh, I'm sure I can figure that out for you real quick.
What else came out in that it could have
Let's talk about the end of the movie, though, while I look for that. They go back. They're able to go back.
There's still more movie at this point.
There's still quite a bit of movie left to go.
Paris gets obliterated. Just cuz.
True.
You know, they didn't necessarily need that scene.
There's a lot of fallout, but the mission is successful. We see rejoicing around the world like it's the Return of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm. Yes. It was silly. You know, I was ready for the ride to get off at this point in time. It was, again, way too long for what it was. But I was definitely ready for the ride to be over. And I just wanted it to end at that point in time. Like, okay, wrap them up, bring them home. Let's get on with it. They're going to get married or whatever, you know. Let's go.
They get married. They run into each other's arms. Hey, you know, Will Patton's kid now knows that his dad is his dad. And they embrace and all these happy moments. And Steve Buscemi gets with the stripper that he was hitting on, you know, and
he's still got to pay that loan back, right? I mean, I understand that he saved the world, but that guy, that's $100,000. That guy's going to want it back.
They tried to negotiate a bunch of nice deals that they could get. I wonder if all that stuff came through. Did Michael Clark Duncan get to go to the White House?
Like, I can't imagine that they are not handsomely rewarded for the rest of their lives.
You know, you don't have to let them pay taxes. That's a pretty good savings.
Can I say, we did not, you know, because of the length of this movie and everything in it, we could talk for much longer than I want to. But
sure.
That made me laugh so hard, because is that not, I don't know, the idea of like, yeah, I don't want to pay taxes ever again. Sounds good. But wouldn't asking for a bunch of money be better up front?
Yeah.
I don't know. You look at the difference between your net pay and your gross pay. You may.
Yeah, but you could ask for more money than what you know that is.
Yeah,
that's true.
I just feel like it's like,
well,
they'd probably tax you on that, though.
It just felt like something that would be very like, what? It felt like a Michael Bay type person, a Hollywood type person going, what do blue collar people like?
No taxes.
No taxes. Also, that's what they want.
Yeah.
There was no real reason to check into it because no one will know what this movie is, but it lost Worst Picture to a movie called an Alan Smithy film, Burn Hollywood Burn, starring Coolio, Sylvester Stallone, Whoopi Goldberg, and Jackie Chan.
Alan Smithy is the famous, or maybe infamous name that a director puts on a movie if they don't want to be associated with it. Alan Smithy's not a real guy.
And this movie was so utterly despised that the Directors Guild stopped using that after this movie came out.
Wow.
I learned very briefly in that check. So that is what it lost Worst Picture to. All right. That is Armageddon, I think.
Can I give my one fun fact here that I put in?
Yes, because I think it's fun.
Did you watch this clip, Josh?
No, I did not watch the clip.
So, Home Improvement, the ABC TV show, used the asteroid set for a bit that they did on an episode of Home Improvement. Richard Karn, this is the story. Richard Karn apparently stumbled upon the main asteroid set while he was like around the ABC Disney Buena Vista sets or whatever, right? And he said to Tim Allen, we should film on this. Look at this. This is amazing, right? So Allen went and talked to then ABC executive Bob Iger, who's now the head of Disney, who then asked Michael Bay, can we shoot something here? And he was like, yeah, just wait 6 months after the film comes out. So they did. And I've added a link to the scene, and it's the set serves as Wilson's basement. Tim goes down because like Wilson asks if he can fix his pipes, and he goes to the basement. And it's just this huge cavernous cave, and he goes, Wilson, you got some real space down here. You can put some nice thing like a ping pong table, and it's just you look at it, it's exactly like that weird. You know, it's like right where they were doing the drilling.
Yep, I just pulled it up to play in silence while you were talking, and it is very much very ridiculous, very completely ridiculous that they went through all that for a credit gag reel.
It's basically it's very funny.
I also just want to give a real quick love to Keith David, who is always a treasure to show up in everything he is ever in. I love him dearly. He's wonderful.
I was on Keith David's side for most of this movie. He was my surrogate.
Well, since you are the wet blanket on the asteroid, David, why don't you read off your review first?
Yes.
Give us your star rating.
I put thought into this. So Armageddon is an apocalyptic combo of loud, dumb, and long. at the 2-hour mark, I found myself rooting for the asteroid. Some may argue, and luckily I prepared for this. Garrett hit me right on there. Some may consider this more of a comedy than a sci-fi disaster film, and I appreciate that. But it doesn't make it any better for me.
I never said it was a comedy.
You said not to take it seriously, and I don't take comedy.
That doesn't mean it's a comedy.
Every character in this film sucks. The premise is dumb, and the movie is dragged out to an excruciating 2.5 hours. Out of respect for good friends of ours, like Mike Brower, who consider this movie sort of a guilty pleasure or a pleasure, I will bump this up a 0.5 star, but I can't call this anything other than a bad movie. It's 2 stars.
Okay. Garrett?
I was in David's camp most of the mental way through this movie, or into this movie. But once I got there, man, you just shut it down and you just enjoy what you're seeing here. There's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't mean it's a 5-star movie. Not every movie has to serve that purpose. Sometimes movies are just there to be repeated on TBS and TNT. And that is what Armageddon lives for, and it thrives in that lane. 3 stars.
I agree that it thrives in that kind of a lane. This is one of Roger Ebert's most hated movies. He named it his worst movie of 1998.
Ebert takes movies too seriously, though.
But it may be among my favorites, damn it. Roger Ebert, I respect what you have to say, but I like that Siskel gave it 1 thumb up. That's what I'm going to do. 1 thumb up. I don't know what that translates to mathematically, but I'm going to give you an answer anyway. I felt like I reconnected with some childhood wonder I had when I was watching this. I was like, yeah, I remembered the spaceship toy, the shuttles. I remembered being really into space and stuff like that. But it does drag, and there is some major fluff in there that should be cut out, and it is monstrously stupid, but it's fun, and that's what I went to this movie for.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give it 3 stars as well.
Oh, okay.
That's what's up.
I don't feel so bad now.
We just destroyed David's world.
I could have gone
so
higher,
bad.
but I won't. But I could have.
I don't feel so bad.
That is Armageddon. Okay, let's take a guess at what Letterboxd fans think of this movie. I've got some of the most popular reviews pulled up here. We've got perfect 3.5 stars. Oh, you need disaster movies to be serious? Need them to make sense? Fuck out of here and go watch Finn play with animal crackers on Liv's tummy.
I agree. Well, better scenes. They're better scenes.
4.5 stars. Bay's masterpiece, his Rosetta Stone, and his only optimistic film. Okay, perfect. And this will be the end. And then this is the most popular review, but did not include any stars. But it's from a user named Lauren Wilford. I shit you not, there's a scene underscored by strings where Ben Affleck and Liv Tyler are lying supine with her shirt undone, and Affleck takes a couple of animal crackers and starts doing a David Attenborough narration as he walks the animal crackers up north to her bra and then down south to her panties. Then Affleck says, I wonder if there's anyone else on this planet doing this exact thing at this exact time. She says, I hope so. And then I Don't Want to Miss a Thing starts playing. And I'm glad that was preserved and kind of like that. We were reminded that that's how that scene unfolded.
Yeah.
Wow.
But what do we think our guesses are?
Garrett,
Am I still last? I'm dead last. I'm
year.
super dead last. I'm not doing this trophy well. I think this is like a hardcore 3-star movie, but I think people are going to enjoy it. I think it's like a 3.2. That's my mind.
That's a good range. Josh?
I'm gonna guess a 3.4.
I'll take a shot. I'm gonna guess a 2.9.
Okay. We got 2.9 from David, a 3.4
I really
from
think a
me,
lot of people are gonna like this though.
and a 3.2 from Garrett. We have a winner. We do not have a direct hit still,
Okay.
but the winner, off by just 0.1, is Garrett. This movie is a 3.1.
Hey,
You're pretty close saying
wow.
it's a solid 3-star movie.
I mean, yeah.
Pretty
There you
damn
go.
close.
Listen,
Well,
this is too good to be bad but entertaining, but not good enough to be better than 3 stars.
It's the thing is like the best way to enjoy it is ironically. Like you have
Yes,
to like
there's
you have
nothing
to like
wrong with
you have
that.
to decide that you don't you're not interested in a good film. And
Yes.
just kind of take. But the thing is, it's just so much noise that
Yes.
I don't know. It's not like it's the opposite of cool guys doing cool crimes. Like
Yes.
specifically, like it's uncool guys doing explosions. Anyhow,
David, you've seen The
that
Meg,
brings-
right? You've seen The Meg?
I have seen The Meg.
I'd argue that movie
Unfortunately.
is equally as stupid as this.
Yeah, and I gave it 2 stars.
Fair enough.
Nah, Armageddon better than the Meg. Get the fuck out of here.
I don't disagree. But same lane. Same lane.
right, you're
They
right.
are both on repeat on
Yeah,
ESPN
you're right.
or TNT and TBS.
So, Garrett, that brings you up to 2. Josh at 6, me at 7.
Wow.
I was gonna say if you lost this one, you might have been mathematically eliminated. That's not true, but
It's getting close.
But there we go. That was your first one since Paddington.
I know. I was
looked it
hot
up,
out the gate
Paddington-
and then cool ever since.
I looked it up. Paddington does not have a review for Armageddon, unfortunately.
It's a shame. Get on it, Paddington. Come on, Pete.
He's really not added any new reviews over the last 3 months. I'm very
wonder why.
disappointed.
All right, that's going to do it for us on this episode. We've got another week of mayhem disaster coming up. So go follow us on social media. Go to SoManySequels.com. You can find links to all that there, as well as all our past episodes, and get videos on YouTube and on Spotify. We will see you all next time. Bye.